the last house in the village to the south. Since moving to the Wisconsin countryside, Claire had grown familiar with the movements of the sun and the moon. She knew when each celestial sphere came up and where, and she knew how their orbits changed with the seasons. The sun would crest the top of the bluffs around 7:30 on this cool September morning. The hot cup of coffee in her hand sent up a warm cloud of steam. She breathed in the aroma of freshly ground beans. Rich knew how to make good coffee. He had spoiled her for the rot-gut stuff that was brewed at the sheriff's department. Although most of the summer flowers were done, she could still see drifts of purple asters blooming in the sandy fields along the highway. Their color was startling and alive in the early morning air. The last flowers of the season. Soon the leaves would start to turn. She felt awfully happy, and it scared her. Claire knew the fragility of such happiness, knew it could be lost with the next breath. She scarcely dared breathe. She could hear Rich out in the barn, feeding his small flock of pheasants. Meg was upstairs sleeping in on this Saturday morning. They were coming together as a new sort of family. She went over a mental list of what she had to do today. She needed to put an ad in the Shopper to rent out her house. Rich had told her not to worry about it until she was settled. She was starting to feel settled. She should take a walk down along the railroad tracks and pick a bouquet of asters. Her uniforms needed cleaning this weekend. She still found it odd to think of herself as back in uniform. 4 years ago, she had left her job with the Minneapolis Police Department, taken a job as Deputy Sheriff for Pepin County, and moved down to the small town of Fort St. Antoine. The latest census had said there were 142 residents, which didn't include the weekenders. Half the town's homes were owned by part-timers who lived in the Twin Cities. The first 2 years working in Pepin County had been hard. Claire had missed the cities, missed the police department, missed working with other women officers. But she was starting to feel comfortable in this small community, an hour and a half from the Twin Cities on the banks of the Mississippi River. She had left the cities because her husband had been killed. At that time, she'd had little thought of finding another man to take his place. Then Rich Haggard had walked into her life. She still remembered the first time he had come over to her house and brought her some morels. She was such a city slicker she hadn't even known what to do with the freshly gathered mushrooms. Now that didn't really matter because Rich was a much better cook than she was. They were very officially a couple. Marriage had been talked about, but she wanted to see how they worked as partners first. So far, the only thing about Rich that really bugged her was that he often felt the need to tell her how to do things. Last night, while she was loading the dishwasher, he reached in and rearranged the plates. She set down the glass she was holding and left the room. He came after her. "Aren't you going to finish loading the dishes?" he asked. "I thought I'd run it." "I don't seem to be able to do it correctly." "It's better if you put the large dishes at the edges. That way the sprayer works better." Claire just looked at him. "Only a suggestion." "No," she corrected him. "It wasn't a suggestion. You were in there moving the dishes around. If you want me to load the dishwasher, you need to let me do it." Claire had finished loading the dishwasher and then started it herself, even though she knew that Rich liked to check it and then start it before he went to bed. Claire had a feeling that they would be fighting about how to load the dishwasher for many years to come. She looked forward to it. She sipped her coffee. Rich walked out of the barn, and her heart filled with love. Life could be so good. The phone rang, and she ran into the house to get it. Ruth, a friend who lived in Fort St. Antoine, asked, "Are you guys going to the Pamperdue for coffee?" "Yeah." "Good. I'll talk to you there. A friend of mine needs some help." Something pinched her foot. Meg gasped and grabbed at the sheets. "Maggie, didn't mean to startle you. It's time to wake up." Her mother's voice spoke firmly. Meg turned to see her mother standing in the doorway on the wrong side of the bed. She still wasn't used to this small room tucked